points of articulation.
Might go.
Welcome to episode 2 of the 3 Points of Articulation podcast, Fig Life. We are joined by one of our co-host extraordinaires, Adam the Wrestling Man, this week. Adam, how are you doing?
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Needed a coffee, but other than that, good.
Lovely stuff. And we also have No Sleeves himself, Jonathan Fenton, joining us this week.
How do?
Lovely. So last week we touched on Jonathan's Fig Life. We went into the depths of why he collects figures nowadays. And this week the camera turns to Adam and looking into where it all started for him and to where it is today. So Adam, first question as always, what is your earliest memory of wrestling and why?
So, I've never been one where my friends were really that into wrestling, to be honest. It's always been me. But fortunately, my family were. Both my grandmas were absolutely massively into British wrestling. So every time I went round to one of my grandmas, she always had it on TV, which then made me watch a little bit of mine. Used to go around to my friends and watch it on Sky when I didn't have Sky before I got it. So yeah, it's kind of in the family. I've kind of watched it since I was born, from Saturday afternoon, World of Sport type wrestling, all the way to now, with a few ins and outs in between.
With the remake of World of Sport Wrestling, which come out, was it last year or year before?
It
did.
I didn't think it was that bad. Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think I watched the ladder match that was on there. But yeah, so I think that's one thing that people always tend to say whenever you speak to people who don't watch it nowadays about wrestling. You go, I'll watch a bit of wrestling. They go, oh, Giant Haystacks and Big Daddy. It's always the first two that they link to, and I'm guessing it's the same sort of ITV thing that you used to watch back in the day. So from that, obviously, you would have been a small boy, small child, then going into a medium child. What then spurred you to carry on watching by yourself?
So as far as toys, obviously that's what this is about. I was always a big car boot person when I was little. We spent Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays going around all the different car boots in the surrounding Lancashire area. And yeah, just automatically was drawn to the wrestling because of watching bits and bats here and there. Even before I started watching WWF, automatically drawn to the Hasbros. Demolition were the ones that properly got my eyes just fixed on Demolition. I'm sure I bought multiple different ones, even though I already had them. If I saw them for 50p, I'd go and grab them straight off the stall, with no intention other than to play with them, and just I never played with all of them. Just kept the one, but for some reason I just kept buying them. So it was definitely Hasbros, which were the start for me. I definitely wasn't LJN. It was the Hasbros, along with the videos. I think WrestleMania 4, the double box set video. Just as soon as I picked that up, I was just in love with it. That tournament, I'm always a tournament person. That tournament just proper did it for me.
Classic.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I think the tournament element, certainly as a child, leads you into other things, isn't it? I remember I used to have a Hasbro tournament every day. It used to be utter chaos, and then the final got to be in the ring, so that was always good. To touch on car boot sales, then I think it's such a staple for British history of a car boot sale. Nothing better in my world on a Sunday morning going down to a car boot. Nothing more annoying than going down to a car boot, seeing a table full of toys and realising that they're He-Mans. Nothing more annoying than that without a single Hasbro in sight. So what was your first one? What was your first Hasbro that you picked up as a child?
You know what? I don't think I could even tell you because I just kind of got a load at once. So the earliest ones were the first ones. Like I said, Demolition are the ones that spring directly to my memory, and I was always a bit bored by the Rockers figures, so I imagine they're one of my earliest pickups as well. But yeah, Demolition, I've got to say.
Demolition, very
Toyetic.
very toyetic. I'd say that as well. Very toyetic. With the masks, do you keep the masks?
No, I don't think. I mean, I picked some up here, there, and everywhere, but the first ones I got didn't even have the masks. It was only when I properly started watching WWF that I even realised that they had masks, because I played with them a lot before I even started really understanding who they were and things like that. So, yeah, just as and when. It hasn't followed me through life, though. I don't care for the Hasbro line now, which is quite strange considering how much I loved it back then.
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely, I think no, John scouring at the top there. So obviously you go from Hasbro. So obviously the Hasbro's in the UK, they're pretty much everywhere. Woolworths tend to have them more than anything. But I remember going to garden centres and they'd have Hasbro's there. Quite readily available. You then lead on to there, and there was quite a hiatus between the Hasbro's and the next line that was released over here. Did you get into the BCAs when they come out, the bone crunching, the jacks?
I tried to have a little spell with them. I'm not very good on names of series. It's not really my thing, names of series. But there was like a red series where there was like Hardcore Holly and Al Snow and people like that in them, with a lot of hardcore gear with them.
Yeah.
I tried my best. I bought that entire series boxed, but it was kind of at the end of me caring that much at that time in my life about figures. So Jax until the very end was a kind of a bit of a no-go area for me. I remember buying the Series 1 Ultimate Warrior, I think it was, the BCA, and from QVC, the home shopping channel, because my mum spent her life watching QVC at that point, and I bought that one. I think there was a Vader one as well, somewhere in there that I bought.
Yeah, cause I think with the BC, I think the hardcore line. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I know exactly what you mean. I think Al Snow come with head and maybe a CD rack. I think. And
right.
then Hardcore Holly had his jacket, and obviously his Hardcore Holly pants. I can't remember, they come with a chair or something like that.
Everybody had a jacket back then in the BCA days. Triple H and Rock.
Edge.
Godfather, cool.
Yeah, if they wore a jacket once, they've had a jacket for life, according to them.
Didn't have to wear one.
Never seen Hardcore Holly in a jacket. Yeah, strange. So obviously you get the BCA line. I mean, to people of my age, being obviously early 90s, it sort of brings you through. It's a good little transitional point, but it's a good point to start with your collection. You then go on to the Ruthless Aggression. You say you don't really concentrate much on the jacks, because I'm guessing, did you miss that whole line, or did you just...
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just the figures. I missed quite a lot of the wrestling in that era. I went to uni from 2000 to 2004, and I tried to watch it a little bit at the beginning. That was the kind of Sunday Night Heat on Channel 4 kind of era. So I got into it with a few of my uni mates watching that, but then probably you're looking at 5-6 years where I didn't really watch much at all, and figure-wise, absolutely zero from that era.
Very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a common theme with people of our age, people in their 30s, should we say, that there's always a phase where you just don't pay attention, or it's just something you skip altogether. I think the Ruthless Aggression line is certainly one to do that with, because all the figures in my eyes look the same, bar a head and a couple of accessories. So off the back of that, then you then get into collecting again. When did that all start? What spurred that on?
I think, to be honest, I didn't collect much. I collected quite sporadically at the end of the Jax era. I don't remember a huge amount about the very, very first Mattel releases. I wasn't into it anywhere near like I am now. Well, I was aware of it, but it didn't matter to me that much. So you're probably looking at one of the ones kind of after I realised how good and detailed the Mattel figures were, after I saw the likes of Hurricane in the early basics, and again, going back to Demolition, on those ones. As soon as I saw how much effort was put in, and as soon as I rewatched quite a lot of that era, which I started doing again probably early 2010s, then I got back into it hugely.
Yeah, I think the early 2010s are certainly a big time, because you had a lot of say Brock Lesnar, for example, come back, which, you know, people who left in 2004 either into UFC, which people of our age would have then started to watch or get into, and then you come back to the arena and it's like, oh, Brock Lesnar's back. It's quite a buzz. It gets you back into that sort of thing. So then getting back into the wrestling, looking back into the Mattels. At what point did you then decide, right, this is something I want to start collecting, this is something I want to start building?
Probably about 2013, as late as that. I started getting a few off eBay. I discovered eBay around that point. And I started getting a few bundles and then selling the ones on from the bundles that I didn't want, and realizing, oh, I can actually get some for not a lot of money by doing it this way. I think if I'd have bought everything new from the shops, then it wouldn't have continued the way it's continued. So eBay's been really good for me in that respect. And then obviously after a while decided, oh, I could actually make a profit out of this, rather than it just being for my pleasure. So started the eBay business from them.
So you're pointing to your head then, Johnny, a la Bobby Brain Heenan, aren't you?
Yes, very smart. It sounds very similar as well.
Praising yourself whilst at the same time praising Adam. Lovely. So obviously, yeah, you get into essentially flipping the ones that you don't want, because eBay essentially now has just turned into a virtual car boot, isn't it? Linking back to when we were younger. You know, you could come across something you haven't seen on there for years. A lot more people are using it nowadays, so it's become a lot more of a decent selling platform. It's a lot more businesses coming through for it as well. Obviously, what's the sort of end game? Is that the continuous plan? Is it wait until picking up bundles of things you need? I mean, have you completed your Mattel line now? Have you? Or?
I'm big into my late 80s at the moment. Just trying to rewatch it all. I went through a stage of like 1985 to 1988, of which quite a lot of my display back here is based on. And then I kept drifting in and out and watching bits and not watching bits. So I've written everything that's happening down in 1988 now. And I'm going from there, because I think if I start from 1985 again, I'm going to get bored. Especially watching all the shows with just somebody beating up a jobber for 2 minutes and then a lot of talking. So I'm going to start from 1988, when the kind of pay-per-views took off a little bit more, but I'm watching every weekly show as well. Try and see some people that I've not seen in WCCW. I've started making my own customs as well, which I'm just going to get back into this week after about 8 months out. So I can kind of hopefully pick up some ideas from watching some old but new stuff, because I'm obviously not watched it for many years, and get some ideas on the go for some new figs.
Yeah, I saw the heads that you posted. There's some new heads arrive. Some of them look great. The Taz one,
yeah. The Shrunken heads, most of them.
Yeah, so the Taz one was great. I think, as we spoke to Johnny a second ago, I think that's one thing that we're missing is a decent Taz. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see the customs when they're done. We'll look forward to sharing them with everyone soon as. Yeah, so obviously from figs then, you then start collecting your figs, you then display them. You see a lot in the background there. Other things that you're collecting as well as the figs, and so we're going to touch on this during the course of the pod, but you got very big into your other things. I think you got your wrestling chair there, you got obviously your water in the background. I mean, what other things have you leaned onto?
Yeah, I mean, nothing's as much as the figures for me. Everything else is quite sporadic, but I've started collecting the mini belts from Euroshop. Every time I see one basically under 40 quid, because I'm cheap, start collecting a mini belt. I wasn't enamoured by them, to be honest, and even now when I see pictures of them, I'm not enamoured by them, but as soon as they arrive, it's a complete different story. They look amazing. So yeah, I started getting them. I've started getting back into my t-shirts. I think I've become like a 24/7 not champion, but 24/7 wrestling T-shirt wearer at the moment. Even my mask now, I've got an NWO face mask for when I go to work, and obviously Sami Zayn hat as well. So yeah, head to toe in wrestling gear at the moment, and I'm big into my figure accessories as well. I quite like buying and selling the accessories as part of the business, and yeah, just stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. I know Johnny wears wrestling T-shirts out. Yeah,
24/7. You're right. I can't remember the last time I didn't wear a non-wrestling shirt. I really don't.
No.
I'm either just going to the gym or I'm just going around the house. Even when I'm going out, I'm wearing them now.
Well, as an example, yesterday, my mission was to clear out my chest of drawers and my wardrobe, to sort out stuff for putting in the loft. And I've had to basically have 2 drawers for wrestling T-shirts, and the rest for general wear and tear. So I've got more wrestling T-shirts than I do anything else, which is good. I like wearing wrestling stuff out because the amount of people that you speak to, and it's a conversational point with some people, where they'll go, "Oh, cool T-shirt," or "There's NWO shirts, shorts that we all have." The amount of comments you get being like, "Oh, I like them." It's just a good conversational point of people that you don't realise either liked wrestling or still currently do. I'm not saying it's a good way to make friends. I'm saying it's a good way to start a conversation, which we could all do with nowadays, isn't it? As a good open chat, as long as we're wearing a mask and standing from 2 meters, of course.
Try to stay politically correct there, Jamie.
Sorry?
Try to stay politically correct.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I said, but yeah. But yeah, I think that's certainly a good thing. So obviously the jacket, but you wearing the Warrior jackets out, or are you merely for show?
No, it's too small for me, that one. So it's a display piece only.
Have you tried it on?
No, I'm not risking it.
Lovely. So I think that's one thing that we us as collectors thrive on, is just branching into other things. Because as Johnny spoke about with his interview, the Hasbro line, he's still got the Hasbros. He likes the Mattel, he likes the Superstars. You haven't got to be limited to one line. Which leads on to my next question. What is your favourite line of all the different figure lines?
I think it's got to be the early Mattel classics, definitely. I think the detail put into them was just amazing. Even people that I'm not a massive fan of, such as George the Animal Steel, just really didn't like him growing up. Not a big fan of matches and stuff now, but the figure and the effort that went into the figure, even coming with mine and things like that, just a different breed for me. I'm really glad they've brought the Legends series back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I can't wait to see some of the ones that they've got planned for release. Look fantastic as well, which is going to be good to see. But yeah, I completely agree. I think some figures that look relatively bland or should be relatively bland come across in a completely different way. I think Paul Orndorff, in theory, it should be quite a bland figure, but then when you look at it physically, it's a good looking figure. I quite like it. So there's a house fire, Adam. Oh no, what's going on? Massive house fire. Everyone's safe, everyone's out. But you have 3 seconds to grab one figure from your collection. What do you grab?
I'm going to grab 2 because they're right next to each other. But
you can't do that. It's against the rules.
All right, then I'll pick one of them. It's the Natural Disasters set. I can't remember the name of it again. It came in a set of 4 with Sami Zayn and somebody else.
Then, Now, Forever.
Yeah, that's the ones. I think the Natural Disasters figures from those immaculate. They're beautiful. So I'll probably grab Typhoon.
Yeah,
he's the most valuable one of the 2, isn't he? Because we've already got an earthquake. From there, I think I agree. I like the Typhoon mainly because it reminds you of the Hasbro Typhoon. Truth be told, and the red on it really stands out, which I quite like on the old Typhoon, which is good. One figure, you have to pick one figure that you wish could be made. We've already had Owen Hart, that's been ticked off. You can't pick Owen Hart. one figure that you wish that they made or wish that they can make, what would it be?
I'll go back to my childhood for this one. Jax have actually released one, but Mattel haven't. It's the kind of Marty Jannetty from the period where he just started his rivalry with Shawn Michaels. Just loved the attire that he had. He kept disappearing, which very much annoyed me as a child. Only as an adult, I find out he just kept getting fired. But it made it even better when he came back, and when he won the Intercontinental title. It's just, honestly, it's one of my favourite moments in wrestling. It just made me so happy. So probably a Marty Jannetty I'd go for.
Yeah. Jannetty is very underrated. Great worker. Just a shame he's gone a bit loopy in recent years, because we probably won't see a figure because of that from Mattel. But you're saying about the attire. Which attire do you mean? Which one would you want from Jannetty?
Probably the same one as the Hasbro
Oh, the party Marty.
that they released.
Yeah.
I love that Hasbro figure. I don't actually own any Hasbro figures in my collection except for the Marty Jannetty. I've got a few customs, but I haven't actually got any normal ones apart from Marty Jannetty.
Is it one with the non-painted teeth? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, he was in reach, so I picked him off for you.
He looks a lot like my old stepmom.
That's a weird thing to say.
It is very weird, but honestly, when I was younger, that was my first thought of Marty. I picked that up from a car boot sale when I was younger. I remember it quite vividly. I picked him up for 20 pence. Him and a Shawn Michaels. But yeah, Party Marty is definitely up there as one of the more detailed trunks, shorts, trousers that you get from the Hasbro rounds. I quite like him. All right, Jonathan, anything to add in for Adam?
No, but we do seem like the same person, and this should be fun going through the podcast, see what our differences are and things like that, because we're almost the same person in terms of the things that we've done throughout our lives in regard to watching or collecting or now selling the wrestling figures. So we'll have some good debates, I'm sure.
Definitely.
And
debate about Jamie's pink hat, first of all.
Nothing wrong with a bit of pink, mate. Nothing wrong at all. Quick plug on your eBay page, Adam.
Adam the Wrestling Man, trying to kind of have that name for a few different things at the moment. So I've got it on eBay without any spaces in between, YouTube with the spaces, and Instagram as well. I believe that's without any spaces. Instagram for my customs mainly, which I'm going to get going with again.
Perfect. And between the three of us, we help to run the Fantasy Wrestling League as well, which obviously we have spoken about before. Of how we come about that is because you didn't, essentially a gap in the market, you could say, where you couldn't find anything, and then you started it from there. So yeah, you got your fingers in many wrestling pies, so to speak, haven't you? Which, and long may it continue, Adam.
Yeah, very much enjoying it.
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll leave it there for now. We don't want to give too much away before we start the pod, and as I said, you and John can start your debates as well when we get into that as to different figs. But yeah, thank you for your time, Adam, and thanks for your insight into your history of figure collecting. It's been very interesting to have a look. Anything to add in there?
For your questions.
Oh well, it's pleasure. Call me the Michael Parkinson of figure collection. I'm sure he didn't wear a pink hat. Michael Pinkinson, lovely. Jonathan, anything to add in there for Adam?
No, I've just done that question, Jamie. So.
Just done that, lovely. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Adam, thanks for your time, and we'll see you
No problem.
next time.
Cheers, guys.